And I think I want to end my session of videos here in this last one. The economiccollapseblog.com. Again, Michael Snyder. And every time I go to the site and read this stuff, I have to just say to everybody, he's running for either Congress, House, or Senate. And man, I hope he wins. He's in like Iowa or one of these, like, you know, far out there country kind of states. Need a guy like him in there for sure. He says, remember this milestone. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has now hit 22,000 for the first time in U.S. history. The Dow hit 22,000, or the 1,000 mark for the first time ever on Wednesday, and investors are all over the world greatly celebrated. And without a doubt, this is an exceedingly important moment because I think that this is a milestone that we will be remembering for a very long time. So far this year, the Dow is up over 11%, and it has now tripled in value since hitting a low in March 2009. It has been quite a ride, and if you would have told me a couple of years ago that the Dow would be hitting 22,000 in August 2017, I probably would have laughed at you. The central bankers have been able to keep this ridiculous stock market bubble going for longer than most experts dreamed possible. And for that, they should be congratulated. But of course, the long-term outlook for our financial markets has not changed one bit. Every other stock market bubble of this magnitude in our history has ended with a crash. And this current bubble is going to suffer the same fate. But many in the mainstream media are still encouraging people to jump into the market at this late hour. For example, the following comes from a USA Today article that was published on Wednesday. It's still not too late to get in, says Jeff Klingtop, Chief Global Investment Strategist at Charles Schwab, based in San Francisco. The gains are firmly rooted in business fundamentals, not false hopes, he said. I honestly don't know how anyone could say such a thing with a straight face. We have essentially been in a no-growth economy for the past decade, and signs of a new economic slowdown are all around us. But even though price-to-earnings ratios and price-to-sales ratios are at some of the highest levels in history, some analysts insist that the stock market still has more room to go up higher. And he says, on the flip side, investors with time to ride out any short-term market storm should not rule out getting in the market now. Economies around the globe are improving and are boosting the profitability of corporations in the U.S. and abroad, says Chris Zaccarelli, Chief Investment Officer at Cornerstone Financial Partners in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's funny. We got investment firms telling you, good time to get in the market. Oh, and use us so we can get that fee off of you. And if it crashes, nothing we can do about it. Zaccarelli won't even rule out Dow 25,000 by the end of 2018. Personally, I believe that it is more likely that we will see Dow 15,000 by the end of 2018, but over the past couple of years, the bulls have been right over and over again. But the only question, or the only reason why the bulls have been right, is because of unprecedented intervention by global central banks. Again, they're buying up everything. There's an article I was going to read the other day, but I don't think I did, actually. And it was talking about how global central banks are keeping zombie corporations in the European Union alive. Zombie corporations that should be gone, done, put a fork in them, dead. Bankruptcy out, get lost. But they're buying up all their bonds and their stocks and everything else, so they're just staying afloat. Today, the Swiss National Bank owns more than $1 billion worth of stock in each of the following companies. And no, this doesn't include your company. Your company's too small. We only go for the big ones. Apple, Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, Microsoft, Amazon, ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, and Facebook, to name a few. So where does a central bank like the Swiss National Bank get the money to purchase all of these equities? It's easy. They just print the money out of thin air. As Robert Wenzel has noted, they simply print the francs, the Swiss francs, exchange them for dollars, and make the purchases. Just like that. If I could create as much money as I wanted out of thin air and use it to buy stocks, I could relentlessly drive up stock prices too. Our financial markets have become a giant charade, and central bank intervention is the biggest reason why the FANG stocks, the one I just mentioned, have vastly outperformed the rest of the market. And the following comes from David Stockman. Again, why have they vastly outperformed the rest of the market? Because the intervention by the central banks is only for the big companies. Again, George Carlin, it's a big effing club. You ain't in it. He says, David Stockman, needless to say, the drastic market narrowing of the last 30 months has been accompanied by soaring price to earnings, or PE multiples, among the handful of big winners. In the case of the so-called FANGs, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and Microsoft, the group's weighted average price to earnings multiple has increased by some 50%, which is insane. The degree to which the casino's speculative mania has been concentrated in the FANGs plus M plus Microsoft can also be seen by contrasting them with the other 494 stocks in the S&P 500. The market cap of the index as a whole rose from $17.7 trillion in January 2015 to some $21.2 trillion at present, meaning that the FANGs plus Microsoft account for about 40% of the entire gain. Stated differently, the market cap of the other 494 stocks rose from $16 trillion to $18.1 trillion during that 30-month period. That is 13% versus the 82% gain of the 6 super momentum stocks. Again, the ones being pumped by the central banks. How in the hell can a central bank, or in this case, all of the damn central banks for the most part, just print money out of thin air and buy up corporation stocks to keep the prices pumped up higher, higher, higher? They now own. Wouldn't you like to the print money? Oh, I want to get in on a Microsoft. You know, I always like Google. They've done real well. Hell, Amazon. That guy's the richest guy in the face of the earth now. I want to join some, Wouldn't you like to press a button on your computer and just print money and say, you know what, I want to ride this train up. I want to ride it too. Oh, no, 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 no. You schmuck. You taxpayer. You consumer. You useless eater, as they love to call us. You get your butt to work and slave. Oh, it ain't enough? Get a second job. Oh, that's not enough? Get a third job. And maybe you can scrape up a few pennies to get in on some of this action. Or you could start a central bank and just print the money out of thin air. Under what authority, somebody tell me, can a central bank, and our Fed's doing it too, Federal Reserve, can pick, we're just going to prop up the markets with these guys? Not you. You could use it, but we don't care. Not you, not you, not you, not you. Just you big guys. Just, again, the too big to fails. So not only do we have too big to fail banks, as we saw what happened, massive bailout, we have too big to fail stock market pumping companies. And since they're so huge and their stocks are worth so much money, can't let them go down. They just got to keep pumping them. Too big to fail stocks. Not money, not banks. Too big to fail stocks now. That's what we're seeing. So the question is, and we still have to wait to see what happens later this year, etc. And honestly, in next year too. But again, 9/23 this year should be the year, whatever. Keep hearing about. Is Lindsey Williams going to be right? Stock market melt up. Now, it was supposed to be melting up this summer, he said. It's, one more month and it's the last month of summer. In $22,000, whatever, 22,000 Dow isn't exactly melt up to 40, 50,000 like he was talking about. So, having said that, we'll see. But I did want to mention that. So anyways, if global central banks continue to buy millions of shares with money created out of thin air, they may be able to keep this absurd bubble going for a while longer. But if the Fed and other central banks start pulling back, we could see a market tantrum of epic proportions. In fact, almost every single time throughout history, when the Federal Reserve has attempted balance sheet reduction, it has resulted in a recession. And he says the Fed has embarked on 6 such reduction efforts in the past. 1921 to 22, 1928 to 1930, Great Depression, 1941, 1948 to 50, and the year 2000. Of those episodes, 5 ended in recession, according to research from Michael Darda, chief economist and market strategist at MKM Partners. The balance sheet trend mirrors what has happened much of the time when the Fed has tried to raise rates over a prolonged period of time, with 10 of the last 13 tightening cycles ending in recession. Moreover, outside of the 1920s and 30s, there is no precedent for double-digit annual declines in the balance sheet / base that will likely begin to occur late next year, Darda said in a note. President Trump is going to get a lot of credit if the stock market keeps going up, and he is going to get a lot of blame if it starts going down. But the truth is that he actually has very little to do with what is going on. The stock market bubble was created by the central banks, and they also have the power to kill it if they desire to do so. And once this bubble bursts, we may be looking at a crisis that makes 2008 look like a Sunday picnic. Goldman Sachs and others are already warning that this stock market rally is on borrowed time. Let's hope that it can continue at least for a little while longer, but in the end, there is no possible way that this story is going to end well. And here's just a little plug. Michael Snyder is a Republican candidate for Congress in Idaho's 1st Congressional District. And you can learn how you can get involved in the campaign on his official website. So, again, I linked this article in my description.